So, the art of sales. It's a very interesting topic because selling things isn't just about, the transaction of getting money from someone and giving them an item or a service. Selling can be anything, to an idea, to getting someone to do something that you want them to do. Persuasion is a sale. Sales are essentially persuasion and being able to convince someone to do something. Recently, I read a book by Jordan Belfort, the man from Wolf of Wall Street, well, the guy who the film is based on, Jordan Belfort, and this book is called The Way of the Wolf. And essentially, I'm going to break down how to sell and what the book sort of talks about, the key to selling in the best way possible. So the system that Jordan Belfort uses is the straight line system, and this system is based on the 3 10s. The 3 10s are the product that you're selling, the person selling it, being you, and the company that it comes from. So they're called the 3 10s because it's a rating out of 10 on how likely they are to buy. So 10 being absolute certainty, or the closest you can get to buying, and 1 being at the absolute bottom. So the straight line system that Jordan Belfort made is based on getting someone from, the low end of the spectrum all the way up to the top end of the spectrum. Essentially bringing them from 1 all the way up to 10. And when you have a service, so in this particular case, we're talking about selling goods and services, but again, similar concepts can be applied to persuasion and other aspects of life. Even if you want to get your child to bed at a certain time, or simple things like that, and helping them to see your point of view and get them to agree with you, these tools can be helpful. So when we're talking about sales, we have 4 types of people. We have our looky-loos, so the people that are just there to waste your time, kind of just looking around. They're not really gonna buy anything. They might fool you that they are, but they might not. Most likely they're not going to. We have people that are referred to in the book as mistakes. Those people are generally just there. They don't really want to be there, but they're in the minority. In the majority of cases, you'll have people who are buyers in power. So these are the type of people that want to spend their money. They just don't know where. They just need a little bit of pushing and a little bit of convincing. The another one, which is in the minority, but it's probably the best one and the rarest, is buyers in heat. So these are the type of people that will come they already want to buy your product, they just want to know how to buy it, and they're pretty much easy to convince. So what Jordan Belfort talks about is, as you go up this straight line, bringing buyers in power to buyers in heat. But essentially he uses a lot of psychological techniques in order to build rapport with a customer or a person in order to sell them the idea or the product or service. So of course, for this, I'm not going to go into the specifics of, scripts and things like that, because he does talk about that. And a lot of the stuff he talks about is a lot of communication where you're not actually present. So I'm going to take out the principles that I learned from the book and the ones that are most applicable to most people. So one is in rapport building. So rapport building is a very important skill if you're a salesman or if you're trying to sell anything in any particular case. In the process of rapport building, essentially what you're doing is you're finding common ground, you're getting the person to like you, you're opening up to them. You tell them your name, you tell them what you're about, you make yourself seem extremely confident. And confidence is also a very strong key in selling, because if you're certain about yourself and your product, you're going to inspire the same confidence in the consumer, the buyer, or the person you're trying to persuade. You might be asking, how do I build rapport? What do I do? So the key first is to be open. So you trust people that are open with you. You have to build a trust with the person. That's what rapport essentially is. You give them your name, you tell them what you're about, like I said. But building rapport is also a mix of factors using tonality, body language, and word choice. From psychological studies, they sort of tell us that communication is 45% body language, 45% tonality, and only 10% of words. It's quite surprising when you see it that way, but I'll explain why now. So the words side of it, you need that to basically get past the client or the consumer's bullshit detector. If you're telling them flat out lies, they need to hear things that at least sound coherent and logical. That's where the word side comes in. With that way, you can keep the person involved, invested, without any alarm bells ringing in their head. But the bulk of it comes from the emotion, which is the tonality side and the body language. So first I'll talk about tonality. Tonality, there's many types of tonalities you can use. The book talks about the sympathetic man tonality, the caring man. You have to show them that of course you care and you want the best for them, and you have to increase their pain threshold and lower their action threshold. What they mean is the action threshold is their willingness to buy. So some people are naturally more impulsive in buying and some people aren't. Those people that aren't have a higher action threshold, which is something you want to lower down. And with a pain threshold, whenever someone wants to buy something, they're trying to alleviate some source of distress or pain. Same thing applies with an idea. You have to get the person on your side by showing them what they can benefit from the exchange, from the ordeal. For example, if you're selling someone like a new TV, you'd have to explain as to why this big TV would alleviate the pain of the older TV, you know? You can do this by asking them questions. Questions like, was the TV too small to see? Does it hurt your eyes? Things like that, but don't be too intrusive. You have to slowly make the questions a bit more personal as you move along the conversation. But it's very key to stay on topic as you're talking to them, because it's very common for some salespeople to go into la la land and start talking about Pluto or whatever, things completely irrelevant to the sale, and which would ultimately harm your sale. So your tonality is very key, because you can talk to people in a certain way to inspire a certain emotion. So, for example, if I talk to you like this with complete certainty, knowing exactly what I'm talking about, I talk slowly, clearly, and very defined. Whereas I could talk to you like this as well, where when I'm trying to make a point, I'm speaking with a tone back and forth. But if someone, if you're talking about pain, someone's pain, you have to sort of change your tone in a more sympathetic way. Whereas you would talk to them in a way like, oh, sorry, I understand. Yeah, I see. You have to become an active listener. So the difference between listening and active listening is an active listener doesn't listen with the intent to reply, whereas an active listener listens with the intent to question and to learn more. Now, these sort of things people can pick up very quickly. You must have been in a circumstance in your life where you'd be talking to someone and they just don't listen to they've listened to what you've said, but they haven't actually processed or understood what you've said. They've just listened until they've been waiting for their turn to reply in the conversation. The best types of salespeople will be the people that will actively listen and try to learn more about their client, their customer, and what they want to get out of it. And ultimately, it's going to help you to sell what you want to sell, because you know reasons why they would want it. Once you find that reason through prospecting and asking questions, not only are you building rapport with them to show that you care, but you're also able to make it easier to sell because you know what to focus on. In regards to body language, there's many things involved in it. So you must have heard of open and closed body language. For example, if I was talking to you guys like this, you'd sort of get the impression that I'm quite closed off, quite reserved. I don't really want to tell you anything. It doesn't give the best impression of rapport building and openness. Whereas, if I talk to you guys like this, I'm very expressive, I talk with emotion, and I move around, it shows that I'm animated, which subconsciously communicates the fact that I'm open and I'm here and I want to help you out. Another interesting thing to note is, depending on your gender and who you're talking to, your stance should change. So if I was obviously a man trying to talk to a woman, to organize a sale or convince someone to buy something, I would talk to them face on. There's studies that show that it's better for you to stay square on with a woman, because it shows that they feel they're being protected and they're being looked after, and generally women like that. Of course, it doesn't apply to every woman, but the majority of cases it does. Whereas if you're talking to a man, the opposite is the case, where if there was a man in front of me, I would talk to them slightly ajar to one side, but not completely around. Shows that we're cool. We're here to do something. We're not being confrontational. We're here to do a mutual sale. It's a mutual sign of respect. The same would apply with women. If you have two women, same would apply, one to one side, and you get the picture. So there's a lot of different factors involved with a sale in regards to body language and tonality. Even as well, an interesting one is the secretive tone. So if you're describing the features of a product or service, or even an idea, if you talk to them in a way that you're quite secretive, like, this product is a limited time offer, I'm only offering it now, but if you sign on soon, we'll get you the best discount possible. See that? When I did that, I had absolute certainty. I used tonality to my advantage, and I had body language in check. So again, I'm not the master salesman, I've just read a book on it, but yeah, these are the principles that I picked up from the book. Obviously you guys have watched the movie, you guys know, that he went to prison and things like that, but he does emphasize a lot in the book, the ethical side of it. You know, maybe because he has to, given that people have probably seen the film and know him from there, which is, I fall under that category. But from what I've read, it does seem quite legit. He always emphasizes that, you know, if people clearly aren't interested in the product, don't sell it to them. You know, if you don't have any integrity, a successful sale isn't really a successful sale because you've done wrong by the person anyway. And that's what a few people said to me when I was reading the book. They were saying, oh, why would you read his book? You know, I've seen the film, he's pretty corrupt and blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. But, you know, read the book for yourself and you'll sort of see what I'm saying. And another interesting skill, which I picked up from, there was 2 other books that sort of mentioned it. I'll mention it again here. The skill is called pacing and leading. So, for instance, if you want to calm someone down or you want to move someone up or down the straight line in a way by, you know, pacing and leading. So, for example, you can loop back. So, say, for example, you get towards the end of the sale, the end of your pitch, and there are about 6 or 7 on the scale. You can actually loop and go back and reiterate the features and talk about it more. You can do this by pacing and leading. So this skill is akin to matching their emotional state and slowly bringing them up. So, for example, if we use the child example mentioned in the book, say your kid's annoyed, some kid's bullying him at school, blah, blah, he starts kicking up a fuss. Instead of saying, calm down, Billy, you know, work it out, it's not a problem. What you need to do is match their emotional state, intensify it and bring it down. What that means is you go up to the kid, you say to him, oh yeah, that kid, he's such an asshole, you know, we have to take him out, you know, blah, 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 you know, really exaggerate, because what you're going to do is, you're like, oh yeah, you know, he understands, but then slowly bring it down. That's the same with a sale. With a sale, if you're at a certain point where they're kind of uncertain, you sort of talk to them in a similar manner. You don't want to push and say, come on, buy my stuff, buy my shit, come on. You can't do it that way. You have to meet them at a certain level. So say they're on a level 4 on the certainty scale, you'll say to them something along the lines of, yes, I understand, you know, but if you did have the money, or if you know, they'll throw these excuses saying, oh, I have to ask my wife, my dog, whatever. You have to say to them, you know, well, do you like the idea? Is it something that you would be interested in? Then they start exploring the avenues and you slowly start to creep in, you know, the reasons to buy it, going back to the pain threshold, and slowly persuading them more and more. But again, reading the room and sort of having an estimate of how likely they are to buy in your head, because if you completely misread the room, you're screwed. Because if you do that, they're going to see you as pushy, they're going to see you as just only out to make a commission or anything like that. So you need to stay on the ball at all times and also stay in control of the sale. There are a lot of other things in the book to mention, like anchoring and things like that, but I think I'll talk about those sort of things in a different video because it's quite a common NLP practice. But those were the basics that I remembered from reading the book, and there is a lot more to it. I will recommend it. Link in the description below to the book. Especially during this time, you know, if you need something to do, something to read, definitely recommend it. I'm going to try and make more videos like this often, where I'll talk about a book that I've read, because I read a lot of self-development books, so those books have a lot of skills which I can talk about and obviously add to the channel, because this is a self-development channel, so it's something I deem useful. But that being said, guys, hope you enjoyed. I'll be back soon with another video. Take care. Look after yourselves, look after your families. It's a difficult time, but we'll get through this. Take care, guys.